Yo, what's going on guys, it's Cynical and welcome back to another Kingdom Hearts video. Today for you guys, I'm finally bringing you a video for an out of bounds trick for specifically Twilight Town. I've wanted to do some out of bounds content for quite some time, and with the recent inclusion of data grading within the Remind DLC, it sort of makes the whole getting out of bounds and getting into areas of the map you're not supposed to all the more easier. Now, I do want to say a special shout out to the 13th Vessel. Prior to the Remind DLC coming out, me and him are actually discussing me doing some of the out of bounds tricks that he has come across, whether it be him finding them for himself or of course through others, to do a bunch of those for my channel to show more people that have never seen these tricks before. But unfortunately, I was strapped for time and never got round to doing it. What I will say now is, with the inclusion of data grading, it does make doing these tricks a little bit easier in some regards. Though I will say that actually executing the glitch in itself can be a little frustrating. It might take a little bit of time to actually get right. You'll be able to pull them off with some ease. Today I'm going to be looking at how to get out of Twilight Town within the Twilight Town setting for data grading, allowing you to explore the entire city. I thought I'd start off with Twilight Town. I do plan on doing a few more other out of bounds videos for the channel, but we'll start off with Twilight Town for this one. Now, there's quite a few different methods to actually get out of bounds using the data grading mode for all of the maps, but the one I specifically used was found by Bray Glove, so credit to them. You'll want to start off by coming to the northernmost left part of the map, up on this roof right in the corner, between the wall of the city as well as this railing on top here. Start by placing an invisible platform C between the corner, making sure that part of the platform is sticking out past the rail. Secondly, while still standing on top of the platform C, you'll want to spawn through a platform B. Adjust it so that part of the platform C is sticking out, meaning that platform B and platform C on the outer rail side aren't flush together. Now, this is where the tricky part comes in, and patience is key. While Sora is standing on top of the platform B, you'll want to go into edit mode and then press L2 or R2 to switch to the next platform. Whilst doing so, ensure that the camera is lodged down in the crevice between the house and the city wall. When the camera is lodged down there and you have selected platform C, back out of edit mode, but make sure before you do so, your thumb is down on the left analog stick to make Sora run towards the invisible wall, and rinse and repeat until Sora is pushed through the wall. This sounds like some nonsense, trust me it does, but this is the exact method towards pushing Sora through the invisible wall so that he can get into the out of bounds area. Trust me, this will take some time, and as I said, patience is key here. Now, once you're being pushed through the invisible boundary wall, you are free to explore the city. Now, one thing that should be known is not everything outside of the playable space has collision, meaning that most of the time in these out of bounds areas, you're going to simply fall through everything, and if that happens, you'll be sent back to the playable space. However, the interesting thing about Twilight Town is that there is actually quite a lot of different buildings that do actually have collision detection, meaning that you can walk on them. The most interesting building that does have collision detection is Sunset Station. This means that you can literally fly over to Sunset Station and walk around the outside of the station, but not only that, jump on top of the roof and make your way all the way up to the top of the clock tower. This is most likely due to the fact that a lot of cutscenes take place around this space, hence the reason there is collision detection here. A lot of the surrounding buildings as well also has collision detection, but it is simply amazing being able to just jump all around the entire clock tower as if it's simply nothing. And the view you get from the tippity top is absolutely stunning. The really cool thing about getting out of bounds in these different maps is you can take some really cool snaps for photo mode, and especially considering that this is data grading, you can even play around with all of the different props and characters and objects and place them in the out of bounds area. Another tip right here as well, if you want to quickly access these out of bounds areas without constantly having to perform the trick every single time you want to go for a little explore, all you do is simply place a character or simply anything in the out of bounds space, and then you can simply warp to it. Make sure, of course, that you save your setting, and then from there, every single time you go into the data grading main menu, you can simply just load that setting back up and warp straight to the character or object that is in the out of bounds space. But yeah, let's talk about the total out of bounds area. So Twilight Town is a pretty damn big town. I would kind of want to consider it a city to a degree, but it's a pretty damn big town, located in the middle of a large countryside. Now, we've always known that Twilight Town has resided in a countryside through, of course, first seeing it in Kingdom Hearts 2, throughout various different cutscenes, and especially when we visit Sunset Hill, you get some really nice views of the countryside out in the distance. But now with the Out of Bounds, we can actually fully fly through some of this countryside, and it's pretty magnificent. It's hilarious to know exactly how big this place is when you actually get to fully explore it, considering that, especially within Kingdom Hearts 3, you only get to see a very, very small portion of the town itself. It would be amazing that for the future of Kingdom Hearts, I hope that especially Twilight Town and many other worlds, especially Radiant Garden, returns and that they are more so expanded. I know for Kingdom Hearts 3, one of our biggest hopes was that we'd get to explore a much, much larger Twilight Town, but to our surprise, we got an even smaller one in comparison to the previous Kingdom Hearts 2 Twilight Town, which was definitely surprising to see. What's interesting here is the entire railway system for the town has collision detection, meaning that we can completely walk on the entirety of the rail. We'll also notice the train driving around. There is one train that does a continuous loop, and at one point you can also see the train entering the station. Though there is a wall in the entrance, it kind of just drives straight through the wall. Also, the train itself doesn't have any collision detection, so if you're thinking you can sort of hitch a ride on top of the train, well, unfortunately you can't. Sora will just phase completely through it. Speaking of the station as well, you'll notice this large dome building with the sort of bluey purpley roof. This also exists within the Twilight Town and Kingdom Hearts 2 as well, and I was always under the assumption that this was part of Sunset Station, maybe a larger waiting area of sorts. But it actually isn't, and interesting that this thing exists, as there's never really any mention of it. We don't exactly know what it is. It's not like we go there at all. I've always been really curious about this, even back in Kingdom Hearts 2 exploring out of bounds areas for Twilight Town. It almost looks like a sort of coliseum of sorts, and how amazing would it be for that the future of Kingdom Hearts, we return to Twilight Town and we actually get to learn a little bit more about this building. Turns out that it is a coliseum of sorts and acts as a sort of arena mode for perhaps a future game. I don't know why I'm going on about this specifically so much. It's just a really strange building that has never really had any sort of context towards throughout any of the games that feature Twilight Town. Now, the forest area doesn't exist within the data greeting setting for Twilight Town at all. You can't actually go into the underground sewer area. You'll be cut off and sent back into the playable space. So when you're out of bounds in the data greeting setting for Twilight Town, it just doesn't exist at all. It's just a big blank empty space. Interesting though, the tunnel system still exists, and the little hatch that would bring you into the forest from the sewer is still there. The really sort of eerie and ominous thing is, when you go through the sewer system, even though you're not meant to technically be in here in the data grading setting, you go through the hatch and you walk into emptiness, nothingness. Be careful around this area, because obviously if you fall into the nothingness, you'll be sent straight back into the playable space. As a little bonus, you can also get out of the mansion set location for data grading as well. So to do so, you'll want to come to this left corner right here. Start by placing down an invisible platform C. Then while Sora is on top of the invisible platform C, spawn through an invisible platform B. You'll want to adjust it so that the invisible platform B ends up phasing into the invisible platform C, but make sure the platform doesn't completely fall off the C platform. Then spawn an A platform and make sure there is a little bit of space between the A platform and the edge of the B platform. Once you've done this, whilst in edit mode, switch on over to the C platform and back out and move forward, and Sora should be pushed through the boundaries. To be honest, this out of bounds isn't as interesting as the overall main Twilight Town area, as the main idea here is to obviously see the entire city and to be able to fly all around it. The main Twilight Town area, as we were talking about, doesn't actually have the mansion area loaded for data grading, as they're two separate locations. So the same can also be said here. For the mansion area, the entirety of Twilight Town doesn't exist, aside from that big dome building and the clock tower. It's pretty ominous seeing just the clock tower sort of floating in nothingness with no town or city surrounding it. You can jump on top of the roof of the mansion, and this can be used to get some really cool photos. However, if you do move to specific parts of the mansion around the back, the textures will completely unload, leaving you with a very clay, muddy looking mansion. It's quite interesting. There really isn't too much to see in the out of bounds area for the mansion location. If you do make your way into the forest area, you will be sent back into the playable space. It is interesting that Square Enix decided to cut off the forest area entirely, as they could have just made the cutoff point the hatch that sends you down into the sewer. It's unfortunate because it means people can't get photos down within the forest. But there is a little bit of forest space to explore, and you can run on top of the city wall, which is quite interesting. That right there is Out of Bounds in Twilight Town. It's really intriguing to be able to explore it in its entirety, even though of course for the most part there isn't any collision detection, which goes without saying. When you're in a space where you're not meant to actually be, there's generally no collision detection. It would be amazing to be able to run all throughout the streets and the avenues and the alleyways, but unfortunately you can't. But to just be able to simply fly around the place and get a better scope and idea as to the sort of expansiveness of this town, especially in Kingdom Hearts 3 with all the detail that follows, is a really amazing thing. I'm going to play some other pieces of footage that I got while I was exploring in the Out of Bounds area. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. As I said, I do plan on doing more of these Out of Bounds videos at some stage, so stay tuned for those. However guys, I'm Cynical, hopefully you had a fantastic day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.